112, where the winners dwell. Portland wins it 112-106. Trae Young, 7 for 23 from the field.
Not good.
1 for 9 from three-point.
I was told. You asked me before I saw the stat sheet.
What'd you guess?
Well, I said 2 for 9?
Yep, 1 for 9 from three-point range. Damian Lillard with the 36, 7, and 7. And those clutch plays down the stretch, GA. Very impressive for Portland to pull it out when C.J. McCollum left the game early because of that injury to his left foot.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the story of their season the last couple seasons is dealing with the adversity of injury. But they stayed strong mentally. I thought their composure down the stretch, and you heard the broadcasters talk about their defensive intensity, particularly in that second half, that won the day. And for Atlanta, this is a team right now, they just seem to be in disarray and lacking confidence, especially down the stretch. You know, the unforced turnovers, the poor decision making, and it's not just about Trae Young. I think just as a group, they're struggling right now. And keep in mind that they got guys out, right? Bogdanovich is gone, no Gallinari, and those are two guys that they brought in that were supposed to be big parts of this push for the postseason. And so they're going to have to now make some adjustments and figure out a way to get Trae going and some of those other guys if they want to have a chance to kind of right their ship.
36, 7, and 7. That's what the box score says. But, Sam, a charge at the end of the game for Damian Lillard.
Yeah, Chris, that's the thing. People look at the numbers, they look at the scoring, they look at the assists, but the things that people don't take notice of are the things that win and finish basketball games. You said it. If Damian Lillard would have turned his back and followed his man to that play, Trae Young would have had an easy layup or a pass to the corner for a wide open three. But because Damian Lillard understands basketball and he's a total pro, he stayed at home, he sniffed out the play, and he got in position to take a charge, which ultimately sealed the win for the Portland Trail Blazers.
So for the Atlanta Hawks, we mentioned this earlier. Now they've lost 6 of their last 7 after starting the season 4-1. Jay, what did you see tonight from them where you're like, okay, if they fix this, maybe they can head back in the right direction?
A lot of it's offensive execution. You know, they are very heavily reliant on Trae Young setting the table, and that's fine, but there are going to be times where the defense is really good and they make you the focal point, and then other guys have to have that ability. Tonight, Kevin Huerter is a guy that they're going to need to have to make plays, and that's the key. Listen, they're in a lot of these games, but it comes down to late game situation, no basketball, and the ability to execute both offensively and defensively. And right now, they're just lacking. They've got to shore those areas up. You've got to get shots at the rim down the stretch. You know, you've got to be able to execute and create opportunities. And they're struggling right now with that. And that's something they're going to have to try and change here to kind of get back on track.
Yeah, Trae Young in an obvious shooting slump. Came into this one shooting 29% from the field in his last 4 games. Now he's 4 for his last 26 from downtown in his last 5 games. That's something we're keeping an eye out on because we know he can shoot the thing. So
the Sixers, especially at the end, 23 in total, but none bigger than that one at the end of the game. As we welcome you here, Sixers post-game live, brought to you by Cure Auto Insurance. Amy Fiddle, Jim Lynam, and Mark Zumoff going to join us in just a second. But guys, I'm going to start with you. I mean, when you turn the ball over 23 times, that's going to be the story of the game. But Zoo, you said it. Wow was when you saw Tobias Harris under the basket. He gets caught in no man's land, and he stepped on the end line.
Yeah, it was an opportunity, I think, for the officials to go to replay if they wanted.
Yeah.
You could do that in the final 2 minutes, and they decided not to do it. But in microcosm, the story of the night, you mentioned it, turnovers, 23, which is way too many, at 6 above the average. And keep in mind, they had 20 turnovers after 3 quarters, and that's the one thing you didn't want to do to a Memphis team, which isn't an especially good team in the half court. They thrive on getting turnovers. They're among the NBA leaders in transition points, points off of turnovers, you name it. And the Sixers, unfortunately, tonight played right into their hands.
Crossing it over with our Mark Zumoff, who called this game. And Jimmy, it seemed like the Sixers got right back in this one. We're watching it down here, and we're getting to see the behind the scenes, which is my favorite part of having the guys in the studio. But it really was the seesaw, to borrow a Zoo expression. And you thought for a second, you know what, they have a chance to pull this one out.
They did have a chance, Aim. As Allah said, they got key stops down the stretch to put themselves in position to win this game. But it's really, to me, just discouraging when you work so hard to be able to have a chance to win a game and then not get a shot. Tobias, going left there, he should have pulled up and just shot the jumper on the move. He took an extra dribble. As Ala said, he positioned himself behind the plane of the backboard. And now he picks his dribble up. He's not sure what he wants to do. And as a result, stepped on the end line.
So they are 0-3 right now without Joel Embiid. The first game we saw was the Cavaliers game where he was the only starter missing. And then the next one, obviously, Zoo was the one where they only had 7 players. But a game like this, when you have another one tomorrow, knowing you're not going to have Embiid, do you have to quickly forget it? What can you take away from this one?
Unfortunately, Amy, they have very little time to forget it, and not simply because it's a back-to-back. They have to go a little bit further west and south, A, and B, they play an hour earlier than they did tonight. So the turnaround is very short, not much time to prepare at all. And Oklahoma City, they are sitting right now in their town waiting for them, having just played on Friday. So it's not going to be easy, but the Sixers, they could show some mettle. Maybe they could steal one against the Thunder and split the 2 games. Speaking
of showing some mettle, Shake Milton, another terrific game. This kid has done everything the Sixers have asked, especially on a night where some of the stars did not have the best scoring output. Tobias Harris scoring a bunch late, Ben Simmons obviously off his game. What are you seeing from the second-year player?
A lot of really good things. First of all, he worked very hard during the offseason. He's come back stronger. He's been able to play through contact. He went to the line 7 times in this game. He made 6 free throws. His three-point shot, he was struggling with it earlier. Now he's getting much better. And he's someone that the Sixers can really rely on coming off the bench. In fact, for a while, he kept Tobias Harris pinned to the bench. Harris had been struggling. And I want to give Tobias credit because even though he had been struggling, came in, actually did give the Sixers a lift late. But unfortunately, that out-of-bounds play ended up costing the team in the end.
Yeah, Jim, it was probably not a surprise that they go with Tobias Harris, given he had let their last couple of buckets down the stretch. Did you like what they were trying to draw up for him?
Yeah, I did. The 2 buckets he got, Aim, came from like penetration from up top to the center, kind of into the foul line area, maybe just breaking that. Whereas at the end of the game, he was kind of heading with left hand down to the baseline. It's not my favorite maneuver, to be honest with you. I think there's a little edge there to the defense, and maybe that's why Tobias didn't shoot that jumper off the dribble.
How frustrating is it as a coach when you see 4 seconds left and you think that's more than enough time to get across the timeline and get a shot off?
Yeah, I think more than anything, what that shows to me, you don't have enough practice time. You can only practice but so many things. Obviously, to be able to get a shot when you don't have any timeouts off the free throw. The Sixers did their job in rebounding the free throw, but they weren't really as organized as you'd like to be, given the situation with the clock in that situation.
By the way, I want to make one thing clear. We talked about perhaps the officials going to replay in the final 2 minutes on the Tobias Harris out-of-bounds play. You have a coach's challenge still in your pocket in Doc Rivers, but you cannot use that in the last 2 minutes. Just to be clear about that.
Yes, because I imagine on social media we're going to see why didn't he challenge that. So Zoo answering that question, I'm sure it's being asked if I check my phone, because I thought they were going to look at that. It seemed like something normal because it was so close. It was such a bang-bang play. But the next thing you know, they already have Ja Morant shooting the free throws at the other end. 4 seconds is enough time. I know we can rehash this one a little bit more, but when it comes down to crunch time, Jimmy brings up a good point. You don't have Joel Embiid in this one, and you don't have a lot of practice. It's a learning experience, even if it comes at a loss.
You're talking about that final play, right? So I think that's why they put Tyrese Maxey in case he ends up with the ball. It's also another shooter. He ends up not really having a very good look there. And I'm sure the coach could tell you, plays like that are rehearsed all the time in practice. And I say that thinking that today's NBA teams don't practice anymore. It's all about what you can cram in during a shoot-around. Just unfortunately for the Sixers in a desperate situation. Would have been great had they been able to steal a game with Tyrese Maxey hitting a game-winning 3, but it was not to be.
It was going to be awesome, but you know what? They have a chance to get one back tomorrow night. Mark Zumoff, we will see you tomorrow for that game against the Thunder. Thanks so much for joining us for the crossover. All right, let's check out our Colonial Nissan Game Changer. Always give you the best option. But when the game is on the line, they're only down 5 points. This is where defense turns into offense and can, right, Jim?
For sure. And as a result of plays like that, the Sixers got themselves back in, with a very good chance to win this game. The ability to get stops in the last 2 minutes of a game is huge. And this is without, your backstop, Joel Embiid, in the lineup. So give Dwight Howard some credit.
So you see the jump ball, which went the Sixers' way. There's another little in the lane.